The Electric Chair 2D. Hello everybody, welcome. Here you have it, The Electric Chair 2D. My name's Midnight Corey, and as you know, I have a regular audio podcast. I put it out every week. It comes out on Sundays, called The Electric Chair. And because I have all kinds of free time and I just need to find more and more ways of spending all my free time, I've decided to come up with a video companion thing that's going to come out every once in a while called The Electric Chair Show 2D. And that's because it's in 2 dimensions. Oh yes, 2 more dimensions of your enjoyment. We have the audio dimension and 2 video dimensions here, just for you, because I love everybody, all you guys so much. But thank you for watching. I'm just going to have a lot of fun with this. It's going to be a lot like the audio show, and then it's going to concentrate on a lot of interviews. And the interviews that I do on this show will probably show up at some point in their audio form on the regular audio podcast. And I'm going to keep that one up as well. And I encourage you all to go to electricchairshow.com and start listening. It's available on Stitcher, as well as iTunes and all that fun stuff. But everything is up at electricchairshow.com. So, yeah, just going to have a lot of fun with this. I don't know where it's going to take me, but I'm going to try experimenting with things and just seeing what happens. Now, for this very first exciting episode, I have with me actor Morgan Peter Brown. He starred in Absentia, which I gave absolutely glowing reviews of. It's a great movie. He did an awesome job in it, and he has a lot of exciting things coming up as well, and just a great guy to talk to. So, you're going to see that. You're going to see some other cool stuff. So, let's sit back and enjoy the show. Now tonight I welcome to the Electric Chair actor Morgan Peter Brown. Morgan, thank you for talking with me tonight.
It's my pleasure, Corey. Thanks for having me.
Oh, now this is huge. Of course, I have to thank Lindsay Hollister for kind of introducing the two of us on Twitter. And I was so excited when you agreed to come on the show, man. This is really great. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure, absolutely. And Lindsay's a great friend and has been an amazing proponent of Absentia, of the film we did, and she's we've known each other for a while from the same hometown, from Columbus, Ohio. So I was happy to do it and happy to be introduced to you.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the podcast of what I've listened to.
Thank you.
I definitely enjoy your work.
Wow, thank you. That means a lot. Now, we were talking before the show, and you heard kind of the interview that I did with Lindsay, and just the rave reviews that we did. She introduced me to this film. It's one that I had been hearing about here and there up until Lindsay suggested it. And then she's like, well, let's talk about this. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Now I finally, get a reason to watch this, and man, it was just an amazing film. So can you tell us kind of how you got involved in that?
Sure. We filmed it in the summer of 2010, but obviously we'd been working on developing it up until then for a while. In late 2009, Justin plays Detective Lonergan, the gum-chewing other detective in the movie. Justin and I formed Fallback Plan Productions. We're both working actors in Los Angeles, and because of any number of different things, really wanted to start getting into producing our own stuff, producing stuff for us to be in as well. And so we came across that idea of wanting to form our own production company and putting together things and working with some people, some really talented people that we knew and wanted to work more with. And I had been friends with Mike Flanagan, the writer-director, for a little while up until then, through Courtney Bell, who plays Trisha in the film. I've known Courtney for a long time. And Mike pitched what eventually became Absentia to me over dinner one night, and it was a very modest beginning of a project. It originally began as something that we were going to do over weekends, and just we had a camera and we had a group of strong actors that we knew we wanted to work with, and because of so many different circumstances, it slowly grew in size. I mean, it still, at the end of the day, it never grew that large. The budget of it's very small. But, there were several things that happened that it kind of raised its level of expectations as we went along, and it eventually became a 15-day shoot period that we did in late June, early July of 2010, and were purchased. Well, we finished the film in late 2010, and then picked up for distribution by Phase 4, for domestic distribution by Phase 4 in 2011. And yeah, and then we came out on DVD in March, and been out on VOD since last summer, and also did a pretty healthy festival run through most of 2011.
Wow. You talk about there being a low budget, and I was shocked when I heard that this was like an indie low budget thing, because man, it doesn't look like it.
Thank you.
This looks like you had millions behind this thing. How'd you stretch it?
We were very lucky in our timing, because Kickstarter came along at a very good time for us. We were all very skeptical of Kickstarter when we first heard about it. Justin originally came across it through Neil Gaiman's Twitter account and checked it out as like, this might be something. And this was like February or March of 2010, so Kickstarter had only just gotten going. It's everywhere now, it feels like.
Yeah.
But very early in its process. And so we were all very skeptical, but it just sort of looked into something that we might do. And then we started to get that ball rolling and take that idea and say, well, how much money would we want to go for? And we went for that $15,000 goal, and we raised 23, I think, at the end of the day.
Nice.
Yeah, and we were able to really work it in a way. As we did these we called them PSAs, these public service announcements videos that are still available on YouTube. We called them the 5 Drive, asking for $5 from everybody that we knew.
Cool.
And we turned them into a really fun, funny, but like heartfelt, reaching out to people, and people seem to really connect to it.
Yeah.
And we did very well in that way, and that the timing of that was pretty crazy. And all this, I should say, all this along the while, we did all this without a script. We shot a teaser trailer for Absentia without the script. The script was written backwards by Mike. I mean, he had a location of this tunnel that was very creepy near where he lived, and he had a group of actors, and we had it was almost like a challenge you'd see on a reality competition show, like, here are your ingredients, write a script. And in retrospect, it was pretty insane. Mike still to this day writes very quickly, but he and we as well say, like, I don't know if we'd ever want anyone to work under those circumstances again. Our Kickstarter, what are they called? Campaigns. Our Kickstarter campaign ended roughly 2 weeks to 3 weeks before we started, which is insane to say in retrospect.
Oh my!
Back at it now, and I just, oh my God, what were we doing? But there were all of these things that kind of forced us to step up to the table. In the original draft of the script, Trisha, Courtney Bell's character, was not pregnant, and then Courtney became pregnant.
Oh.
And that was sort of like, okay, and it was like, well, there's 2 things we can do here. We can delay, and and wait a significant period of time, and have a kid in the mix. The movie, have a kid, because it's Courtney and Mike's child. Have that massive, awesome distraction, but still. Or what if she's pregnant? And that was like, okay, and that sort of immediately raised the stakes of things, and raises the sympathy factor as well, and makes things kind of immediately more interesting and more severe. And so that was another weird luck timing thing. And we had to time the filming towards that as well, because we didn't want her to be extremely pregnant. She's 6 months pregnant when we were filming it in the film. She's 6 months pregnant, and we wanted her to be showing as well. So we timed it months in advance and said, we carved out that time, and we're like, June 21st. June 21st. That's right. It was 2 years ago, just last week or a week and a half ago, and we carved out that brick of time and did it months in advance. In retrospect, it's all insanity now.
I couldn't imagine that movie without the pregnancy element in it. I mean, that
absolutely.
just, like you said, it raised the stakes and it just added so much to it.
There are so many things that how it developed. The original pitch of the story was definitely, it always had that missing person aspect in that, dealing with the loss of that and how that would translate into something horrific. But I think it was an idea that I was actually originally skeptical of, bringing in the idea of the legal death in absentia. And that was something that Mike came across. Mm-hmm. And it didn't quite, I was like, because it requires the 7-year aspect. Mm-hmm. And it's like, 7 years, man, that is a long period of time, you know? I mean, we had, I think in the original thought, it was like maybe a year, like 6 months or something like that. And it was like, no, and what if we introduce this very real, mundanely terrible idea of the death in absentia? Mm-hmm. And that was, and so that was another thing we brought in. I don't even really want to call it like the first draft, but the first treatment or the first pitch of the story was very far away from where it ended up. Justin's character didn't exist in the first version of the script, but we ended up liking having that other character for Mallory, for Detective Mallory to work off of, and having, especially in the second half of the film, you know, as it starts to have another presence there. Yeah. Someone who's not so deeply involved in everything. Somebody who's not a complete wreck. We're all just beaten to hell. Some of us literally. Somebody who's the voice of reason.
Man, your character Daniel, just like I keep saying, freaked me out. Totally freaked me out. It was a brilliant performance, and I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to you. It was literally, for me, you stole the show. Not taking anything away from any of the other actors, of course, but man, how much of that was kind of your making? How much of that was kind of directed to you? Did Mike say, well, this is how I need you to be? How much of that was you, I guess, kind of creating this character?
It was, we developed it together, definitely. He definitely wrote with everyone who was in the film in mind. Mm-hmm. Mike works very well that way. And I think the ideas were pitched to me in a way that, you know, this is possibly the sort of thing he would go through. And then I would sort of develop it. And if you look at and it went through a couple of things, some of which we shot, that how far gone his mind was, how things would be when we're not just talking about the ghostly version of Daniel. We're not just talking about the spirit that's haunting her, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And so the more you start to talk about it, and you're like, man, 7 years, like what would be left? That was the other thing too. We're talking about pushing the amount of time. It's like, would there be a mind left to salvage there? Like what? Yeah. Get the physical stuff like on. Like what would have been left to talk to relate to? Yeah. And we did actually. There's some deleted scenes on the DVD. We did actually shoot some other stuff because at one point we did like the idea of seeing maybe that he was going to be okay eventually. Before things eventually, of course, go very wrong. Oh yeah. But that parts of him are starting to reassemble. That parts of him are starting to come back together, and it develops a little bit more of a stronger connection with Trisha. We eventually decided it wasn't the greatest idea to involve that because we like it better when he's just more mysterious. Mm-hmm. It kind of makes it more terrible. And there was something weirdly comforting about seeing him back, starting to come back into some realm of normalcy, and that we didn't think fit quite exactly, or it didn't quite seem in the vein of where we were going. And Mike's quote about it was, he's like, if Daniel's the shark in Jaws, imagine if the shark made you eggs. That was Mike's quote.
Wow.
That's specifically related because there's a scene where Daniel, in an attempt to connect with Trisha, tries to make her eggs, and it's a deleted scene, and of course it doesn't go well. But there's an effort. It's a sweet but weird effort of him like trying to. This is normal. I'm gonna try and do here. Take this, but still like never a whole lot more talking or anything.
Yeah. I got to watch these deleted scenes now because that sounds great.
Most of them are me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Most ended up on the cutting room floor.
Oh, but no, I love where the movie ended up though, because I didn't want any more, I didn't want any less. I think he gave us just enough, and it's that mystery. So many questions, so many things left up to interpretation without it being too art house, vague, weird, trippy kind of thing.
That seems to be, that's so much of what we love about it, and also at the same time, for the detractors of the film, so much of what seems to drive people crazy.
It's not a big gore fest, and stuff like that. So,
and the people that wanted, they wanted it to become that monster movie at the end, that wanted to go down into the underworld and fight the things, and it's like, you wanted a different movie. That's not our movie here. And not that wouldn't be awesome, but I think that ours is more of a meditation and existential at the end of the day. Yeah. But no, I'm making it sound really scary, horror fans right now. No,
it is. There are a lot of genuinely scary parts. I mean, there are a lot of jump scares. They're not cheap, but a lot of frightening parts in that. Most of them involving you. And of course, Doug Jones has a couple like really creepy kind of scenes in there that really have the same kind of freaky kind of thing. Some of the shots in the tunnel, of course, are just crazy. And so there's a lot that people will get scared by, but you do it in a different way. You don't show them, all these things, and it's left up to the imagination.
We're very much fans of less is more, of letting the audience scare themselves, of the things you don't see are 10 times scarier than the things you do see. And I guarantee you, people, like if we could, like with what money we had, if it had turned into a monster movie, you wouldn't have been satisfied. What we had to do, that's a whole other thing. But it's, we, at the end of the day, it's true. We did not have the budget for giant creature effects. Yeah. But at the same time, our tastes tend to go away from that anyway. And I love a good monster movie. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but I think both our budget and our artistic sensibilities tended to take us more in the direction of just that creepiness of that, of that alluded to horror rather than literal, like, gross out horror.
Yeah. So it seemed like it just fit perfectly. Everything, all the stars were lining up on this one. It just seems.
There's a lot of things that we look back and we're just like, oh.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, and in working in future projects and everything like that we're very lucky. And having said that as well, I have such complete faith and pride in the team that we were able to put together, and if you bring the right people together under the right circumstances, what we got was pretty amazing at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. And I'm glad, the image that I have in my head of this whole underground, whatever you want to call it, going on. Yeah. Is so Lovecraftian and so grandiose, and just like it could only be the likes of someone with a budget like Guillermo del Toro or Peter Jackson could even begin to pull it off, and even they might not be able to do it justice, because it's just the story that you wove painted this picture in my head. It was amazing.
As soon as anyone mentions the word Lovecraftian, we're like, we've got them. They know where we're going.
Nice.
That's exactly it, and it is that. It's the indescribable. It's the everything. And that was something. Yeah, that was one of the earlier things when Mike even brought me the idea originally, because he sort of pitched the movie to me at the same time that he pitched the idea of my character. I mean, and we we like that idea of that horror of a place or a thing that we don't see. All we see is what it does to the people we love. Just that terrible, like, it has turned him into a shell of just a ruined person.
Yes.
And, and you see this again, you see this through myself and through Doug's character of what it has done to them, that you can only be left to think, like, what the hell is going on? And you sort of have to be creeped out by that and buy into that.
Yeah.
And that was, that's always one of the great things. It's the girl in the it's the girl's body in the box of, this is not a boating accident at the beginning of the closet. Long before you ever see the shark, it's it's knowing, like, this is what this thing does. This is what it does to people, and that's frightening to me, and that's definitely something that we like.
Oh, yeah. So, people listening and watching this right now, if I didn't drive the point home when I was talking to Lindsay that you got to see this movie, I'm just going to stress it now again that you got to see Absentia. Just absolutely something you have to experience. And
we're definitely
rewatchable, too.
Thank you. We're definitely a slow burn film, and very character driven. In some ways, in a lot of ways, we're an indie drama with a lot of, like, horror, creepy elements. Not a gore fest, not a slasher film. Not that we don't enjoy those, but it's, definitely people's expectations are interesting going into it. Because our cover art is a tad misleading. I will, and that's not our decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, that the synopsis actually both kind of. They brought me into the movie expecting something different than what it was. So they're both. You can't look at the cover or read that and really make a judgment on whether or not you're going to give it a shot.
If you go in with an open mind, definitely, and I like our trailer definitely. It's not that. Excuse me, but I think just go in and go along with us, and I think we'll creep you out, and you'll go. It's a good story. We're very proud of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, you should be. So thank you for putting this out there and for doing a great job. What are you working on now? Anything cool in the making?
Yeah, we're in early pre-production of another horror film that we're doing with Mike. That unfortunately we may not be able to film until next year, just because of schedules and everything. We're all pretty busy. But it's another horror film, definitely with the great character development that we like so much and that's so prevalent in Absentia. This one's probably going to be a bit more fast-paced, a bit more familiar in the ways of, like, variety of location and almost like the line, like, if I had to combine it, with, like, the variety of locations of something of, like, a Final Destination film, but with the great character stuff of like Roman Polanski, and if that makes any sense at all.
Sounds interesting, yeah.
I'm like, what would that even look like?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's it's called Scared Airs. The news of it is out there a bit already, but we have a script we really like, and we're still putting together some cast and getting things done. But we should be able to get it filmed next year, and hopefully it'll be coming on your way soon.
Awesome. I can't wait to see it, and I'll definitely keep up on it. And
thank you.
And, awesome. Well, let's talk about some horror movies. What are your favorite horror movies? Because you do, you're doing a lot of horror film, and so I assume you're a fan.
I'm very much a fan. Yeah, no, I'm a film fan in general, but there's something about horror and sci-fi and thrillers that I love. I've already mentioned it twice. Jaws is my favorite movie of all time. At the end of the day, I love Jaws. I've loved it since I was a kid. I've loved it since I was like 10, and it's one of those movies that you keep watching as you grow up. You're like, God, this is so good, and you just discover, like, so the reasons why I love it now aren't necessarily the reasons why I loved it when I was 10. Mm-hmm. But there's, like, so many more layers and so many more things. All of the technical aspects of it are so good, and the music is brilliant, and the performances are great, and just theme-wise, it all just comes together for me. I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the most rewatchable films I think of all time. I mean, it gets you every time. You're scared every time, man. You don't want to go in the water.
I've seen it 20 or 30 times, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, me too. And I still like, let's watch Jaws. Yeah, all right. All right, cool. You know, you still get excited about seeing it.
Right. It's coming out on Blu-ray, I guess, very shortly.
Oh man.
I
Oh.
know.
I have to buy it for like the 5th time now, I guess.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Please, yeah. Yeah, I didn't even. They did that documentary a couple years ago, I think, called "The Shark Is Still Working," which is about like the continuing influence of Jaws, which is pretty amazing. The fact that I'm sorry, I love The Exorcist, though. It's definitely classic horror that I like. That's amazing. More recently, 28 Days Later, I was a huge fan of. I love that. Session 9 is one that Mike Flanagan and I love deeply, and
that's still in my Netflix queue. I haven't
never seen it
yet. No,
check it out, man. It's we are definitely, there's some definite influences of us of Fallback and Mike Flanagan. Session 9 a bit. It's kind of that location based. Like they've got this amazing location. Are you hearing me? Okay, I'm sorry. There's this. I don't know what the hell's going on.
No, you sound great.
Okay. Sounded like somebody is using a chainsaw over my next door neighbor. I apologize.
Oh no, yes. Someone's getting murdered there. Please, by all means, go check it out.
That's just me. Yeah. Sorry for that. Session 9 is another one of those movies, though, that is you get really deeply involved with the characters while all the while this incredibly creepy stuff is going on. And man, that movie just works, and that's a good one. Josh Lucas and David Caruso. David Caruso's in it. That's right. It's Miami. I love those. I wrote them down. What else do I love? Oh, The Descent. I love The Descent.
Yeah, great movie. Great movie.
Yeah, Neil Marshall. That one works for me again. So at the end of the ongoing theme with all of these is just the devotion to character at the end of the day, and developing those characters that to really be scared for someone, you have to actually care about them, you know, and that seems like such a given, but it's so often looked over, or it's often missed.
Exactly.
And the movies that get them right really, like, you know, if you establish a couple characters that we really like and care about, I don't care, you know. I mean, we'll follow them. And be terrified for them. Mm-hmm. And The Descent does that so well that by the time that takes that hard right turn into horror, I mean, I don't think anything horrific besides, you know, just a car crash. Any of the really true horror stuff happens for like 45 minutes or an hour into that film.
Right, and then all of a sudden, it takes a turn. Yeah.
See, I love the director's cut, though. The theatrical cut drove me nuts. The theatrical cut is the one that goes right to credits as soon as she's in the car at the end. Spoiler alert. Do you remember what I'm talking about? Have you seen the two cuts of that?
I only saw the one, and I thought I just saw the theatrical.
The director's cut got a 10 times better ending for me.
Really?
Yeah, it's the one. I won't spoil it for you if you haven't seen it.
I'll have to go check it out.
Have to check out the director's cut. The theatrical cut, the ending kind of ruined it for me in that way. Lindsay talked about it. The original Halloween. I just watched the original Halloween again the other day. It's almost unfair how good it is. God, this is still so good.
Yeah, another one of those. It just came together right, you know, because it was another movie, low budget, and they really didn't, I think, have real high expectations for it. You know, they weren't going for anything deep or meaningful. You know, they just wanted to kind of make a slasher, you know, kind of.
And it's funny, I talking about the difference between the Rob Zombie one and the original and the Carpenter one. I so prefer the Carpenter. I respect Rob Zombie. I just didn't quite go with. And it's weird. Some stories beg for explanation, beg for the background, beg for, you know, all that explanation. Yeah, all of that kind of lead in. And some don't.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Donald Pleasance tells me that man is evil, and I buy that he's evil. I don't need to hear anything.
You don't need anything else. No, you're exactly right. Yeah.
Dr. Loomis says it, and I believe it.
Yep.
It's like, yep, I'm not going towards that guy.
Yeah, yeah, and that
I don't need the hour of seeing where he was as a child and all that teenage angst and everything. It just ended up being unnecessary for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it really. I mean, I really like Rob Zombie, and I'd like the remake. I really did. But I can see how his take kind of homogenized it with a lot of other horror films that we're seeing now, and
right.
It was basically his version. He took kind of stuff that he did in The Devil's Rejects and a lot of his other films, and just kind of mixed them in with Halloween, and kind of did that. So I can see that.
I love hearing Zombie talk about his love for horror. He's done a few for his AMC or a few like TV shows here and there, around Halloween that'll do like specials. It was originally hearing him talk about it that made me watch the original Black Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
And hearing him go on about it was like, oh, I need to see this.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. I mean, that fact that movie was 4 years before Halloween or something like that.
That's amazing.
Directed by the same guy who directed The Christmas Story.
Right.
That's the amazing part about
that.
Christmas. It's directed by the same guy who brought us Ralphie and the Bunny Pajamas.
Yeah.
Of the really twisted first kind of there's a guy in the attic story. Oh, man, that movie.
Yeah.
And,
the cool thing, Rob Zombie works in a lot of these really cool references, and he pays homage to things that have influenced him. Like in his version of Halloween, in the background on TV, we see White Zombie being played, and
right. That's been streaming on Netflix for a little while too. I watched part of it. Yeah.
I just watched it again. White Zombie is another one I can watch over and over and over and over. It's gold to me. And I just literally, I think 2 days ago, I popped it in again. And, I still enjoyed it.
More recent stuff. I loved The Mist. I really thought The Mist worked for me. That one I know some people love and some people don't. It's a hard movie.
Yeah, it is.
You have nothing left when that movie's over. I really enjoyed it and really liked the kind of combination of hell on the outside and hell on the inside of that. Hell is other people.
Two different kinds. Yeah. And did you know now on one of the most recent issues of that film, they did a black and white cut that's like an extra. And which I think is really interesting because the whole movie is kind of like a throwback kind of thing. And
I see why. I see no reason why it couldn't be. And there, I do sort of like those movies. I'm drawn to those sometimes, and they do often tend to be the more minimalist stuff of that movie could have been made 50 years ago.
Yeah.
The Others, which I actually haven't seen in a while, but I don't know how it holds up. But I remember seeing that, watching The Others, and saying, the really cool thing about that is that could have been made in 1950 and it would have been the exact same movie.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool and its style of everything. And there's some moments that I still remember from that movie really liking and attaching to. Yeah. She walks into that room and it's just every piece of furniture covered in a whiite sheet. I remember seeing that at the theater.
That's been a while too. That's
Everyone at the theater goes, oh. Like, oh no.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, but you picked out a great movie. Actually, I asked you to pick out a movie for us to talk about and kind of review, discuss, whatever tonight.
Yeah, and we feel a lot of connection to Lake Mungo. Actually, I think. Yeah, it's there. Mike Flanagan and I came across it. I think when we were in post-production, and it was sort of like, have you seen this? Like, this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it totally plays with your expectations in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And maybe in some ways to Absentia, like, you almost feel like it shouldn't work, but it does.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this is, a crazy movie that goes so many different places because, like you said, it plays on your expectations. And basically, it's a girl drowns at a dam while they're swimming. This is Australian, of course, like 2008. And so they're at this dam swimming around. She drowns. The family's mourning. And then supposedly her picture, the image of her starts to appear in pictures and videos and things like that. So the family is grieving, and you see how these supposed occurrences of her appearances after she died, how that affects the family and their dynamic. And then the plot twists, and you find out different things. Things are revealed clear up until the very end.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's tough to really, I think, go into a lot of detail without spoiling some of it.
Right.
Because there's a little kind of reveal about halfway through about the initial set of pictures and videos that's taken, because of course the brother is he takes photographs and and video, of course, and these are where she's supposedly showing up, but it ends up that's a hoax. And so it ends up he's just really, I think, messed with his parents' minds, like even worse, and made the whole thing just a lot worse for them.
I've gotten into a fight about this movie because someone people that like really dislike it, because it's part of the After Dark 8 Films to Die For series, which, some of them are great but a lot of them tend to be towards that more slashery side.
Yeah.
And I've had to defend it like vehemently to people.
Really?
They're like, thing happens, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So much happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what happened at the end of the day? But I should say, we should point out also, it's done in the documentary style, which almost made me very skeptical about it when I started. Yeah. Because, you're sort of like, this documentary style, but it does it so well. And the performances are amazing. You don't know any of these people. They're all Australian actors and actresses. They're very good, though. They're completely natural. And there's these introduction of all these little naturalistic moments. None of them, not even all of them pay off, but all of these very real moments and things that come up which just make it really hit home and really feel like actual people and actual things. And the performances will break your heart. They're so good. Yeah. And but yeah, when I talk about like playing with the expectations, there's a psychic character, and he's not like any psychic character you've ever seen. He's just this older guy. He's just a very nice, honest older guy who happens to be a psychic and uses it to comfort people at the end of the day. And there's all these kind of horror things where it feels like at any time this movie could take a hard left turn into a more traditional horror fare, right. But it doesn't. It always stays the course and teeters on that edge and keeps you like really uncomfortable for most of it, of just like, this is creepy, man, and does it so well.
Yeah.
Love it. I think, and you're so invested in all of the characters, and it all works well, and brings back the documentary style, like that docudrama or that fake documentary style, in ways that I didn't think it could still be done. I mean, after Christopher Guest, which I love all these movies, and after all these, we've seen all these different versions of the mockumentary. That you're sort of immediately like, mockumentary, I don't know, and it does it so well.
Yeah. You feel what the family feels a lot of times, and what the characters are feeling, and because they pull it off so well, just the emotion that they have in their faces, and the way they hold the moment in the camera. Sometimes there's just like a moment of silence that just says so much more than what they could have spoken. Right.
There's a speech the dad has around like 10 minutes in or something, where they're talking about, they've already left the place where she supposedly has drowned, and the search and rescue teams are there, but they've had to go home. And he talks about leaving the porch light on.
Yeah.
And oh man, you're almost crying like 5 to 10 minutes into this movie. I described it to a friend once, and I meant it as a compliment, but it doesn't necessarily sound like one. I was like, it's like the greatest episode of Dateline you have ever seen. It's like, that sounds like an insult, but I swear it's not.
No, actually, that's very accurate.
It's
It
like the
is.
most fascinating episode of like 48 Hours or like TV expose that has ever been done.
You're right on. You're right on because they sell it as real. I mean, this feels like
Yeah.
it's pulled right out of life. You know, it's a brilliant piece of filmmaking. Even they cut in, you know, like you were saying, a lot of the like old home videos and some TV
Yeah.
footage, you know, police investigations, and
Yeah.
tie it all together. And then things are revealed more and more and more. You find out, especially about Alice, the girl who drowned.
Right.
You find out just about what she was all about, and it has to do with leading a double life and keeping secrets and
Yeah.
keeping the fact that you keep secrets a secret, which I think was
Right.
a great line that they
Right.
repeated again at the end, and that's what it was all about.
Yeah.
And then we have a scene at the end that just makes it's given me goosebumps right now thinking about it. And it has to do with her partying at the beach with her friends, and the reason she is acting weird and does these weird things. And you see her with her camera phone, and
Right. The
something she
camera phone
captures
sequence.
on that just
Yeah. It's,
is
it's
really
very
scary.
teeny. It's a little bit of found footage inside this movie, and yeah, it works, and they use it so well. And yeah, there are, and I part of me I wanted to talk to this filmmaker, this Australian filmmaker. I forget his name, Joel
Joel
Anderson. I think.
Anderson, yeah,
I because there's so many things that are like, are you intentionally, pardon my language, are you intentionally fucking with us here? Because like
right,
you almost have it set up like you want us to think something's about to happen or something's about to go. The scenes, the psychic conducts these interviews where he's consoling or just working with these people or having them go into a trance, and he has these scenes with just a camera on a tripod, and it's this kind of grainy like home video footage, and it's these people sitting in a chair with their eyes closed and speaking in hushed tones, and when he and they finally find the tape with Alice, with the daughter,
mm-hmm.
and you are expecting that freak out to happen. Like you're still on the edge of your seat, but
Right.
you're not sure why, because like horror movies have almost taught us that like something's about to go nuts.
Oh
and, like,
yeah, because it's
and
slow. It feels like it's building
you
towards something. Yeah.
right there, and you're, oh god, and it's like this wrenching of your stomach, and but it just never quite gets you there until it does.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just maintains that and sustains that experience for so long and builds it so well,
Mm-hmm.
and then takes it in a completely different direction.
Oh my
And,
gosh.
yeah, I'm fascinated by this movie, and watching it again, I was just like, God, this movie does so well.
Yeah, it does. They did it right. I can't say enough good things about it, and I can see why some people would hate it.
Yeah,
You know, because it's very story driven, very character driven. You're drawn in by the stories and finding out more about them and how things
yeah,
change and twists and turns, but it's very uncomfortable, like you put it. You know, it's not horrific necessarily all the time, but it's very unsettling, very uncomfortable, very weird. Like it's building, you're expecting something, and
yeah.
they do this constant kind of build and release of tension regularly throughout the film that it just keeps you going, it keeps you interested in it, and so, man, just
It definitely feels part of. It feels like another addition to, and I want to believe Absentia is part of the same subgenre
mhm.
of these kind of weird mashups of horror
Yeah.
because now we're in such a time where so many of the more traditional tropes of everything are overused.
Yeah.
I love a good zombie movie, but like every version of the zombie movie has been done. I read a zombie script now, and I'm not even sure I'd be able to recognize the best zombie script in the world if it came across my desk, because
Mhm.
it's hard to identify, because I'm immediately identifying it with so many things that have
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
before. And so I think people are really thinking outside of the box and mashing things up that wouldn't necessarily be mashed up. And so you get something like this, which is like an intense family drama that is on the verge of like a haunting, of just a creepy haunting, but it's done in a documentary, almost newsreel style. And it's not a horror movie, but I watched Another Earth the other day, which is it's an independent drama with elements of sci-fi, and because
Really?
because it's a girl dealing with this dramatic stuff, but at the same time, a mirror Earth has appeared in the sky, and it deals with that in a very realistic, small way. Not in it's not Contact. It's not, it's just dealing with a very small, day-to-day way. And you're not, it's not scenes with the president. It's not Michael Bay.
Right.
It's that indie mashup of sci-fi and everyday kind of drama and stuff. And I really enjoy that and that style of that kind of, bringing together things that don't necessarily go together.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, not just a horror comedy, but I think there's a lot of future in that, and I think there's new additions to it every day.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Absentia and Lake Mungo and these films are all, I think, a great example of why the indie realm is where horror is at right now. Every once in a while, if we're lucky, we get something worthwhile in the big theater horror-wise to watch. But anymore, there's so many home runs being hit out there by the indie sector.
I know. Ty West, I love Adam Wingard's work. I think Horrible Way to Die just came streaming on Netflix, and I watched it again. I saw it at some point a few months ago and really liked it. There's another indie drama.
Cool.
It's like an indie drama that's like about a serial killer. At the end of the day, the serial killer's last girlfriend before he goes to jail, and yeah, that one did it for me too. And it's at the end of the day, it's almost the build-up of the story and is almost like that of a relationship drama, except the serial killer, and it's done very small and very realistic, and you buy it. The indie horror world continues to impress me in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
and I think so much interesting stuff is being done.
Yeah,
the studio stuff. I mean, they just so often seem to be a few steps behind, and dealing more with some studio stuff, I can understand why, when you're more money and more people and more everything takes long.
Yeah.
And, if you have this great idea and you have to run it through 10,000 other people, and it has to go through all of these other levels of approval, that by the time it gets made, does it end up being anything, original or
That's what's hilarious. I mean, you said you shot Absentia in 15 days with a tiny shoestring budget, and you came up with a thing of beauty. Something I haven't seen a movie this good come out of Hollywood in a long, long time. And it's just hilarious because the Hollywood's out there spending millions and millions and millions, billions to make movies, and now the biggest thing is 3D, so they're investing all kinds of time and technology into that, just as I think a shtick to get more viewers out there, and it's just funny how that works because it isn't working for them, but at the same time, it's getting harder and harder for indie filmmakers to make their films.
I think that's true in some areas and less true in others. I think with digital technology being what it is, I think the micro budget level is an extremely viable way to do things now.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of money in it, and I'm not going to lie.
Right. Yeah.
But I think there's more than ever there is that independent spirit of go out and make a movie, and so much, and especially in Los Angeles, everybody's very much aware of how kind of bogged down the system is, and how there are less films being done every year by the studios, and so more people have time that are available. But you have to, $1 million is a lot of money to if you get the right filmmakers, you can make 4 or 5 for $1 million. And and not that it's all great at that level, but it's it's becoming increasingly viable way to do things. Yeah,
I agree. I think there are a lot of people out there who can get a camera and just go shoot a film and get something on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, something like that going on. That might have not had the means or the funds to do it, maybe even 10 years ago, even though it was still a lot more accessible at that point. Right. But so we're seeing a lot of great stuff, but at the same time, you're seeing a lot of stuff that, wow, is kind of painful. People just not really knowing what they're doing, or
It is easier to make a movie nowadays, I think, than it has been for a long time, which is gonna, so we're gonna see a lot more stuff.
Yeah.
And I think hopefully the percentage of what's good will stay the same, so there'll be actually more good projects, but it means we're probably gonna have to wade through a lot more crap.
Oh yeah, I get a lot of that, and I wade through a lot of crap. So, but when you find that one really, really great one, it makes it worth it. You're like, wow, I'm glad I sat through 30 horrible films, and I saw this one that is just like changed my life now forever, and I can't get out of my head. So that's
amazing. No, we're so happy.
Yeah. So, Morgan, it's been great talking to you, and I hope that we can do this again.
Absolutely.
Because you're just amazing to talk to, and you're doing great work. I can't wait to see what you're doing next and what comes up. I hope you keep me updated.
I will, absolutely. Yeah, well, looking forward to talking again.
Great. Well, I'll have all the links up on my website, and of course in the show notes, where you're going to be able to find out more about Morgan. It's definitely worth finding out more about. Go see Absentia for the millionth time. Go see Absentia. So, Morgan, thanks again, and have a great night.
Thank you, Corey.
Hey, before we wrap up this very first episode of the Electric Chair 2D, I wanted to show you something kind of cool. I collected these as a kid. They're Fright Flicks trading cards. Topps put these out in 1988. I wasn't always allowed to watch horror as a kid. I was born in the 70s and grew up during the 80s, and man, I wanted to see horror movies so bad, but my parents didn't always let me. So I was always at the newsstand or the bookstore flipping through Fangorias, looking at the cool pictures, or when these cards came out, man, I was all over them. Like I said, 1988, this is Topps putting these out. They came in packs of 9 trading cards and 1 sticker, and you got a piece of gum, which didn't matter. We had 4 different wrappers. We had Nightmare on Elm Street, Fright Night, Predator, and Pumpkinhead. The whole set is 90 cards and 10 stickers. And these are all awesome scenes, man, from the 80s horror films, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Fright Night, Day of the Dead, Predator, Ghostbusters, The Fly, Pumpkinhead, a whole lot more. And what's funny about Pumpkinhead is they didn't actually refer to it as Pumpkinhead. They called it by a much more obscure title, which is Vengeance the Demon, which totally screwed me up, because I can't find it anywhere under that title, but so I figured it out eventually. Something else that they did that was pretty cool on these is they had some really cheesy captions added to the card. They just made something up that was trying to be funny and poking fun at the horror, but they were just really bad puns and just groaners, but it made it kind of fun. Another thing that's cool is on the back of the cards, we have these spooky, did it ever happen little stories, and they're kind of urban legend style things, and they're fake, but it's just fun. Now, for me, these cards were my first experience with almost all of these movies. I wasn't allowed to watch a lot of horror, and seeing these cards, I was looking at them, they're so gruesome, and I was just like, man, these movies are insane, man. And especially I remember Day of the Dead, because they show a lot of gore scenes, a lot of zombies, and so, man, I really wanted to see it. So years later, when I did finally see it, man, it made it that much cooler, because I'm like, I remember collecting these cards as a kid and just wanting to see these so bad, so it was just great to make that connection. I had these as a kid, but of course I went to college. My mom was cleaning the house and she threw these out, so that was lost. I found mine online. I got them on eBay, but you can buy them a lot more other places too, either the whole collection or just single sealed packs, things like that. Now, I did find a really great piece of advice on a website that is selling these. They're actually selling the wax packs. And this website says you get 9 cards and 1 sticker per pack and 1 stick of gum, which you must not eat because it is 20 years old and will make you sick. Words to live by.